Good evening, everyone. This is Captain Gajanan Karanjikar. We are on our weekly show of Decoding Millennial Mariners. I welcome you all for discussions. And today we have an important topic to discuss on a very important subject. So I have a guest with me who's none other than Captain Devashish Basu of NavGuide Solutions, and he will join. And then we are looking at the millennial mariners, their learning traits, and how to take these things to maritime training institutes. We had a very long marathon meeting over the last 4-5 days on discussing various ways to take this forward. Good evening, guys. Good evening. There's some question has come. What? Have you ever participated in national anthem? Yes, Shri. Many times. I've been called as chief guest, and I always felt very proud to join a 15th August Republic Day. I'm also RD parade during my cadetship days. My college cadetship days. Hi, Kashish. Good evening to you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining. We already have Captain Devashish Basu joining here, so I will add him and soon. A growing viewership. Hi, Devashish.
Hi,
Good evening
sir.
to
How
you.
are you? Yeah, good evening. Good evening, sir.
Good. The
Looks
last
like
video
you've
on
been very
YouTube, which I posted on Millennial, Decoding Millennial, had about 138 views. So it was good.
right.
So we have a
Fantastic.
growing. People may not join Instagram live at this point in time because, of course,
Yeah,
it all depends
Instagram.
upon their convenience. Again, we are dealing with millennials here, so the
Yeah,
mobile is in their hands. So we can only
correct.
create a content for their benefit and put it across to them, and they can see it and view it as in when they like. That is the idea behind the entire thing, that you can see the content as and when you like. So
Right,
good,
right.
Devashish. How you been doing?
Yeah, all good, sir. All good. Looks like you've been very busy. No time to shave.
I just wanted to change my look. My daughter is not talking to me because she doesn't like
Oh,
beard. Wife has already started hating me, and so all the
right.
girlfriends.
If you say that, you'll be hated even more.
Yeah, true. Pepper, salt pepper is something like which a lot of people like, by the way. Anyway, so
Yes.
yes, I mean very busy here because Savita results came out over the weekend. I mean the last whole beginning of the week. I mean over
Yeah.
the weekend. Then we had judges meeting, evaluation committee meeting, and all that. And yesterday I had a
Uh-huh.
privilege of attending WebEx meeting of where the Prime Minister was addressing.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, on maritime security, because we as AMPA being lobbying to include us in Maritime Security Board. So
Right.
that has somehow taken some shape. So yes,
Yeah.
lot of things to do ahead, and my August calendar is absolutely full.
Yes.
So 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, I'm all 6 days I'm very busy. But
Packed
that's
up.
good. It makes me very happy because job also is simultaneously happening. So बहुत सारा काम हो रहा है.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so to take our discussions forward, Devashish, in a very
Yeah.
constructive manner.
Yeah.
Am I audible? I mean, can you hear me?
Yes,
No
yes,
issues.
yes, yes, absolutely. Very
You're
clear.
also audible, so that's fine. So what I was
Yeah,
thinking, if to take our discussions forward in a constructive manner, today's topic of discussion that we have seen in the past as to, the millennial traits, we have seen their learning cognitive skills, we have also spoken to the one of the professors from the TS Chanakya to understand as to what he feels about it. So
right.
we had the views from them as well. And we also have seen various, in bits and pieces, various mediums that they can learn from. So now I want to put the ball in your court, asking you
Yeah.
as to what
Talk to
is
me.
the plan to take this to the training institutes,
Training
and
institute.
how do we take this to institute? Number one question, and a joiner to that question is as to how will it benefit, you think? In if you
Yeah.
can describe 2 3 ways of taking it to the MTIs, and how will it benefit the millennial learning?
Right,
So
right.
the floor is yours.
So yeah, I mean, today's topic is really very important for us, and I mean, it's very close to my heart as well because all this discussion about different traits of the millennials and learning patterns is all good, fine. But what is the end result? What is the and a lot of people have been asking me as well, and I think has have been asking you as well that what is the point of all this discussion? Where is this going to go? So that's why today we have decided to discuss where this is going to go and how we can take it forward. Now, in today's discussion, the viewers would be very, very important, especially the young generation viewers, because we would really like to invite their ideas on what we are saying. Because sometimes, what happens is that at a position of privilege or at a position where you can take a decision, you sometimes forget that the person on the other side might have a different point of view and they might not have liked what you're saying or they might not like what you're doing. So the whole point is to make it effective. The whole point is to make it effective for the young generation. So with all the research, with all the big words, if the matter is not interesting or engaging to the young generation, we have failed. So that is something we should be very clear about. Now we discussed about the concept of micro learning, how the young generation wants can grab something in small bits and pieces. This is one very interesting concept which we can definitely take. When someone passes out of an MTI or someone is doing a 3-year course on the MTI, there used to be a time where a part of that learning used to be on the ship, and then you come back, and then when there was TS Dufresne or those kind of places. Right now, with this present, format, a lot of that is not happening and not logistically possible also because you take someone and probably it's not a so a person passing out of an MTI has got a lot of theoretical knowledge, but the person has never seen a ship in real action. Now, that is one place where we can very much implement micro learning. What I mean by that is we can create things like an app. My company is already doing this kind of work. So I'm telling you from very real experience that we have already done these kind of things, that we can create something, an app which every student can have on their phone, which would give them short bits and pieces on various areas of the ship. We already have developed videos and detailed guidance on various levels, even reaching up to the inspector or the captain's level. But we don't need to give them a guidance of that detail in the beginning because they have not seen the ship. But we have to at least get them acquainted how the hospital looks, how the lifeboat looks, how it will look like when you're walking on the deck. How do you walk on the deck, for example? When you walk on the deck, you start looking down first and then your vision rises, normally, that is what happens because you have to take care of where you are going, where your feet is falling. So your vision rises from your feet, the level of your feet, and then slowly it comes up and then you look at the whole ship and you keep walking. So how does that feel? We can simulate that in a very short time. It doesn't have to be a half an hour or a 40-minute video. It will be a 2-minute video or maybe a 3-minute video, which no one would mind watching, but they would be very well acquainted how the oil spill locker would look. Where am I going to work? I'm going to take this as my career for the next 20 years or 50 years or 40 years, whatever time. How is that place? How does it look? How does it feel? And what are the things that normally, I mean, in general, I must know? So there are a lot of elements which is there in the cadet record book, for example. Lot of things, lot of tasks which the cadet, when he joins, he or she, when they join the ship, they have to do a lot of tasks. Now, if they don't know, obviously a lot of these things will be new to them. If they don't know, what are their options? Their option is to either catch hold of a senior or start, going through the books or whichever other learning methods they can to complete their task if they're serious about it. Otherwise, they will just get it signed, and then that is another story in which I am not going into. But I'm saying even if someone is serious about it, which we expect that every cadet, every new joiner should be serious about their task, their options go back to the seniors and the guidance from there. Now, fantastic option if the seniors have time, if the seniors are, willing to teach. If they don't, the guidance can come from these kind of micro learning. Like, how would you how would you wear your BSA? When you're wearing a BSF, yes, we know that you have done a course and you had to do the firefighting course. In the firefighting course, you were told about it. But out of the, let's say, in a course, there are 40 students, maybe 2 or 3 of them will remember the exact procedure. And there is an exact procedure. There is a procedure because in a real emergency, you don't have time to, figure out what to do first and what to do next. You have to be aware of that procedure, and you should be able to wear the BS set and be prepared. So how do you train a cadet for that? Of course, they are getting trained in the institute, but where we come in, or where the digital processes would come, it will be sort of a hand holding for the person to go from the transition to happen from their institute to the ship. And so that when they reach the ship, it doesn't all feel like a strange, which we all felt. We all, when we joined for the first time, we felt it's such a strange place. Now, that is where one of the very effective ways we can use micro learning, or we can use digital methods like apps, and because everyone is using it anyways. No one is alien. If I ask someone of like 20 years or 19 years old, if I ask him to open a book, it will be strange. But if I ask him to install an app, it will not be strange. It's the first
Yeah,
they're
true.
doing it on a daily basis. So that is the idea that we are working on,
No,
and
given
this
yeah,
is
true.
one.
Well, like, given
There
the
are a lot of
role of
others.
MTI today, I mean, given the this is okay. This is for learning on board vessel. Using the app and kind of
Yeah.
self studies and self learning. What I want to know, as given the job of MTI,
Yes.
suppose, is of getting them through the competency exams. Okay.
Right.
Now there are two elements involved here. That one is that the competitive exams have the certain kind of a, you know, competency checks, and I mean it might be a question answer, it could be MCQ, it could be a paper pattern. You have one
Yeah.
side that, and one side another set you have is an interview. That is a viva, or you call it orals. Okay.
Yes.
Now,
Right.
MTI's role is to prepare his cadets for this, you know,
Yes.
because people ask, when MTIs are evaluated, okay, what is the percentage of your result? That is what they look
Hmm.
at.
Yeah.
Phase two we have 100% result, phase one we have 95% result. Our second mate cadets, I mean, of course, they do basic nautical science, they come back, do their orals and pass. That's
Yeah.
fine. So looking at mates exam. So how are we augmenting MTIs with this kind of their role?
All
Or
right.
are we looking at doing that?
Sure. 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 So I just gave you one example of what we can do. Now the other side, which you just mentioned, that how do we augment the current existing system? How do we not replace, not at all, or anything, but augment? How do we supplement that, or how do we fit into that model? Now, just recently, I was having a discussion with one of the leading MPIs in India, and the key interest. This was a very interesting discussion which we had, and they said that we are looking at digital options to replace some of the lectures in institute, which the students can have on their phones or on their laptops. But there has to be three essential elements into this if you are having a digital option. One is that it has to be interactive. Obviously, this is the first rule of digitization that it has to be interactive. For example, I'm trying to explain something about a job let's say let's say boarding a lifeboat. I mean, abandoned ship, and you're going to board the lifeboat. So instead of just saying that you should wear these PPE and so, the person should be able to choose. And the moment they put their finger on a PPE, it automatically gets selected, or it doesn't get selected that way. So it has to be interactive. This is one example. There are a lot of other examples, like there are mix and matches, and there are many such examples how we can make a certain digitized version interesting and interactive. The second element, that there has to be an evaluation process inbuilt into it. So definitely there has to be. So what we do is normally we um, while the every module is different, but let's say I'm trying to explain something on ROR, or let's take the
Very
example of
important.
ROR.
Very
Yes,
important
ROR.
topic. Very important topic. Yeah.
So instead of going by asking the rules, or the like asking them to mug up the rules, basically we ask uh, for their understanding of the rules using the evaluation process. So our evaluation process would ask such questions which would bring out what that person understands. Let's say in case of a head-on situation, how would you what is your I mean, if I simply ask a question like, okay, when two vessels are on reciprocal courses, uh, each shall alter their course to starboard so that one shall pass on the port side of the other. So now, what do you mean by reciprocal courses? The question which we ask here is very important, because the question would bring out the understanding. So if we ask them that, do you mean course made good or course over ground? Very simple question, but it brings out a very important concept. What does that person understand? Because if he has studied the concept of course made good and course over ground, he would know the difference. If he doesn't understand the difference, of course, he cannot answer the question. Even if he understands the question, does he justify his answer is very important. In case of a simple question like a vessel is going from seawater to freshwater, what would be the change of displacement?
Correct.
Will
Very
it increase?
important.
Will it decrease, or what? So this just the fact that displacement doesn't depend on which water you are, but that has to be understood by the. So what we are trying to do over here is to put these kind of questions which sort of bring out the understanding of the student from the course itself, and this we can do it entirely in the gamified form. So we can. This is one option which I feel that every MTI must look at, is to gamify their evaluation process. I cannot tell you how interesting it becomes. I mean, instead of intimidating the student, basically we are going to for the same goal. We are trying to see how much that person knows, but there is no point intimidating him like you make the person comfortable that okay, this is sort of a game, because let's say we have a game where a cadet is being interviewed by a surveyor in the MMD, and depending on the answers, the surveyor's expression changes. So that's an interesting concept, because it's not just the scoring, but also the emotional cue into it, that you are actually in that room. Like you said, that how the MTIs can prepare the cadets for the evaluation. I believe one of the things that every MTI must look at is to gamify the evaluation process. It is fantastically doable, and we are doing it already. We are working with companies with that technology, and not just us. I believe even other companies are doing it. So I'm talking about the technology and the effectiveness of this. So, I mean, we already have the feedback from the students that this kind of an approach is much more, acceptable than a conventional blue screen with a white question and four options, that conventional approach. Now let me give you another example of what we can do for the training part, like so one of the training methods which we use is storytelling. when i say
Yeah.
storytelling when I say storytelling, I am putting the person in that situation. So we have one module which is based on this concept, which is on the engineering side. It's a bit of a senior, it's for senior engineers. But the concept is like this: that I'm putting you in a situation and I'm asking you, what do you think you should do? And I'm not giving you the four options. I'm not giving you a multiple choice question. Life will never give you a multiple choice question. I mean, when something happens to you on board, God will not tell you, okay, you have four options. Which one is the right option? You have to figure out your option. You have to figure out what you think. And the evaluation process goes like this. When we see the answers which the students have given us from that situation, sometimes even we are shocked that this concept or this angle even we did not think about, because the person is free to think. He is trying to solve the problem. He or she is trying to solve the problem. And that is exactly the kind of people we need on board also. And that is the kind of people who would be more fit to clear the exams, especially the orals as well, because you have to improvise. Not every answer will be a multiple choice question, but in our evaluation processes, especially the digital evaluation processes, almost 90% of the evaluation goes on multiple choice questions because it is simply easy to evaluate. If you put the right answers, the computer does the evaluation for you. But in this case, when you write something, someone has to read it. Someone has to evaluate you based on what is your experience or your competence. So that is a difficult process, but it is definitely worth that extra mile. I mean, if we evaluate people based on simply multiple choice questions, this is something of I have spoken in many places regarding this, that multiple choice question evaluation using multiple choice question is not how you determine or how you judge a person's competence. A person may be good or may be bad or maybe just lucky in multiple choice answers. But if you bring out the person's individual inputs when that person is faced with a situation, that is how you know how much that person has understood and how much that person will be useful in the real world. So I mean, there are examples which I can keep giving. Now, storytelling is one example, as I said, that we put the
Like,
person in a
I'm
situation.
just, I want to interrupt you here. I mean, storytelling is one of the best thing because, I don't know about you when I was kid myself. And,
Yeah.
I mean, I used to always talk about and make fun of those masters or chief officers who used to say, when I was a cadet, when we went to that port, so this was nothing but a form of storytelling,
Yeah.
because in that storytelling or
Correct.
hearing somebody else's incident in life, you know,
Yeah.
like my chief officer when I was kid, I remember in 4 to 6 morning watch or I mean, I has to be on 4 to 6 morning watch because 6 o'clock you got to go on deck to take soundings and all
Right.
that when I was
Right.
kid.
Right.
But then the chief officer would narrate me that 4 to 6 mein pura kahani of his cadetship and how his chief officer was and how
Yes.
smartly he gave answer to chief officer and and things like
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Apart from it improving my English on board and conversation skills,
Yes.
it was so well for me as such those days that I would learn a lot of things from his incidences. ऐसा भी हो सकता है. I mean, he used to
Right.
tell us this story about loading nickel ore. I mean, I had not seen a nickel ore cargo that time, but I could
Right.
imagine as to how nickel ore cargo would look like, how would it liquefy, and how does it become water. So I was thinking whether nickel ore cargo is ice, it becomes a water. You understand?
Yeah.
So
Of
storytelling is
course.
one of the
Of
very
course.
important things. Like, people also
And
get engrossed into it, you know,
yes.
like,
Yes.
yeah, very important.
And this particular concept of storytelling we are using right now for senior level officers and engineers as well, because we are actually starting series which I want to call MLS, which is my last shift, you know. So it's
My?
basic my last shift. The story which
Oh,
we
okay.
tell each other, my last shift, this happened on my last shift, that happened on my, but not
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
big, not in the disorganized manner. What we are doing is we are collecting these experiences right now. It will take us a few months to get this into shape for in all departments. We have already started with some departments, but it will take us a few months. But what we are doing is we are contacting some of the most experienced sailors and people who are all either still sailing or who have spent a long time sailing because they have so much of
Hmm.
rich experiences, and we are trying to convert those experiences into stories because not all experiences are very interesting, but we are putting characters into it, we are putting interesting stuff into it, all that to make the person engaged in the whole process. And in the story, now let's say a chief officer is telling you a story of a discharging on an oil tank. Okay, so this happened. I was coming from Egypt to Rotterdam, and on the voyage we were doing tank cleaning, and something happens on that voyage. Okay, and we stop the story there. So we stop and we ask the person that, okay, chief officer seems to be in trouble. Can you help him? What do you think he should do? And we are, that is the evaluation going on. Now this is whatever he says is the evaluation for that person, but you don't feel like it's an evaluation. We are telling you a story, and after you say the answer, we the immediate next step we give you the answer, but the story continues after that. So okay, the tank cleaning was finished and the gas cleaning was done and it was purged and all that, but during purging again something happened. So again we stop the story, another evaluation there. So this is how we
Oh, okay.
progress.
Oh, okay.
I can, this is a real example which I'm giving you. I mean, we have actually developed these kind of products. And what happens is in the process, we are preparing him in a very real term for a very real operation because he might actually face that same situation on his, this is actually the situation has come from a real world scenario. Only maybe the characters are different or the names and the different but the situation, this is an example of how we can uh, mix storytelling with the evaluation process also, and we can use it very, I mean, easily for even academic subject, not just because if you try to explain someone's stability, the only real proof of whether he has understood or not is whether that person can handle the real scenario, or that person how maybe not a very senior level scenario. I'm talking about a simple scenario. Let's say you explain some a person to about stability, and then you say that the ship is going from this port to that port, water density has changed from so and so to so and so, and so this can be a sort of a real story on board. And then what do you do? How do you calculate? How, so it is not just the mathematics of it, but it is also the concept of the entire stability would come into that particular element, you know. So I'm not saying the storytelling is only applicable for real world. Obviously, it is applicable for on-board jobs, very applicable, but it is also applicable, and we are creating that for MTIs also, because even for the ROR module, which I told you, even for the ROR, we are making up a story, you know, and we are putting these bits where the person who's doing this can actually give an answer, and that would be sort of evaluating the competence of the person also, you know.
So,
So the
so to
so
ask
that
you another question on this, I mean, okay, well, if the MTS adopt this kind of techniques, like let us say
yes,
technique, let's call it techniques because millennials are going to learn out of this, effectively, as we say.
right.
Is it going to replace the professors in MTI, or
No,
is going to no no? I'm asking the question, or is it going to reduce their workload? You see, today's scenario, like a professor, I'm telling you, I've been in touch with many of them in India today, and everybody tells me that apart from teaching the stipulated subject and syllabus, they got so much of work of a college.
yeah,
And today's everybody is like deemed university, everybody is going for a upgradation and ISOs and those kind of audits, and they have a NAC audits and all that, NAC audits and all that. So all
Right.
those double A, triple A audits also happen to the institutes. So all the
Yeah.
professors also get pulled into that kind of a job in keeping their college. I mean, so they are kept on the toes, not only on teaching syllabuses and creating that competitiveness in the cadets and the
Right.
post courses students, but also
Yeah.
looking at the academic administration work of this college. So if these apps and if these learning techniques are going to reduce the workload of a professor, then it's going to be really beneficial to the MTIs, right?
Because see, I'll tell you what, how the process of digital learning affects a college or an MTI. For sure, it is going to reduce the workload. In what sense? That let's say you had to give the same lecture every day, or every second, or every year, the same kind of lecture you had to give to hundreds of students. Now, with one effort, let's say, I'll give you a very simple example. A professor in an MTI taking a certain course for the last 10 years or the last 15 years, let's say. He has so much
Mm.
experience in saying or in delivering that. If he delivers that and we embed his lecture. Let's say for we are not going to embed a 40-minute lecture that the person gives, but if we embed a 5 or 10 minute explanation of a certain subject of a certain area, and we develop a total learning system around it, we can take the inputs from the lecturers, or we can make our own lectures. What that means is we are automating the process of delivering the same information again and again. But what happens in I mean, for the student is listening to it for the first time, so it doesn't matter if the student, if it's only the workload for the professor is going down, but the benefit of the student is at the same level, because he or she is actually listening to a very experienced instructor for a period of 5 or 10 minutes, depending on, I mean, how much we have embedded. And what happens is that one very important aspect which we cannot do with the present education system is that we can filter out the areas where the students are really doubtful, because this will never happen in a classroom. Now, in a classroom, if 40 students are listening and the professor is teaching, and if out of 40, if 10 students do not understand the subject or do not understand what that person is saying, maybe out of that, 2 or 3 people would be able to speak up and say, "No, please repeat," because everyone else is quiet. You would not feel comfortable. This is a very common psychology which never happens in the conventional classroom, but in digital format, when you have your own device and you are listening to, it's like a one-to-one interaction with the lecturer. In that case, you are more free to voice your concern, or what are the things you're doubtful in. Let's say 90% of your doubts are cleared by the lecture, but even if 10% of the doubt is remaining, that will make a problem for you later on. You will be stuck in some problem later, or you will not be able to give your exams. I mean, you'll be stuck in basically in your exams later on. So what will happen is we can very clearly see what are the areas where the lecturers or the teachers have to concentrate more. So this is a very useful information. So what we are trying to achieve a very high standard of for the students, because earlier we would have accepted that, okay, we have given our lecture, it's all done, and now what is the big deal about it if someone did not understand some of it, because that happens. But now that once we take the load off for the lecture. I mean, if we can take the load off from the lecturer, now the lecturer has more time to concentrate on what elements really matter, and the students are really doubtful. Let's say, in usually what happens is that we see from a bunch of 100 students, there are 2 or 3 topics which many students haven't understood. So we know that we have to repeat these topics. So we have a very clear idea of which areas we have to concentrate on, which areas we have to focus on. This is something which is very, very much very useful for in this kind of an approach. And definitely, one thing happens is that the workload, of course, reduces because we are not just reaching everyone; we are reaching them in a way which is more very interesting to them. Now, out of any MTI, I would say there is not a huge amount of. I mean, I mean, I don't think any MTI has all the teachers who can really engage their students. Engaging the student is something which is not really directly proportional to how much you know, or not directly proportional to how experienced you are. So with the digital tools, we can engage them, and we can deliver the same amount of you know knowledge. That is
Absolutely. I
definitely
mean,
a big boon.
no, no, it's going to be the order of the day, whether the MTIs like it or not. Because you know why I'm telling you, because day
Yeah.
by day you're going to be falling short of experienced teachers. I'm telling you. I mean, I always remember that Three Idiot movie, and our
Yes.
the principal Sahasra Buddhe, he gives the
Yeah.
same lecture. Even the chaiwala knows it by heart. So if he had to really record that lecture and give it to the students every time, so
That's
that
a
would have saved his effort. Again, okay, that personal touch would go. I'm sure about it, because personal touch has got lot of meaning. When you talk about the understanding and things like that. But the days have come now that the millennials also are poised to learn from the like I can't. I mean, I'm telling you, there are so many Harvard lectures are there, and so many, like I teach in IIM now. I study so many online lectures for delivery
yes.
style and things like that. But I can't
Yes.
concentrate much, and I can't take anything unless I read a book. So I need to have a downloaded. Maybe I will scroll on computer screen and read the book, or read the paper, read the case study, and then make
Right.
my own notes in the paper, in the diary, and open that diary when I teach. That is my style of teaching, because I don't understand unless it has gone from under my hand, as to speak.
Right.
My
Right.
father always tell me, you write it down. If you forget it, write it
So
down. But today's
so
millennial can watch the TV, watch the video, and learn. That's a trait. That's a budded trait.
and not only that, it also matters how you deliver online. Delivering in person is different. Is one skill. Delivering online is also another skill, and it is not the two cannot be compared. We cannot say one better or the other, because the two are different platforms altogether. Obviously, as you said, the personal touch will go, but let us think about it. How many of us actually remember the first? Now, some of the professors, like I said, there are always the cream of the professors, which can never be replaced by any kind of online learning, because they don't only know their subject, they know how to hold the students' attention for whether it is 40 minutes or 1 hour, whether it's a lecture or a classroom, whether they're talking to their colleagues or to their seniors or to their juniors, doesn't matter. When they talk, people listen. That is something which I mean, no, I don't think anyone would claim that that can be replaced by digital. But there is the other 80-90% of the people. I would not generalize this. I mean, definitely it differs from person to person. I'm just saying, with all due respect to the professors. I mean, we have all studied from some fantastic professors. But having said that, there is a huge number of mentors throughout our life, not just the professors, even our mentors on the ship or on different levels in our life. There has been different mentors for different purposes that we do, that we have learned, different skills we have learned. Now, we cannot say all the mentors had a fantastic skill of holding the attention. Now, holding the attention, there are techniques in the digital world also which can help you hold attention. And that is something, first of all, let us not mince words here, because one thing is for sure, the research behind what you're doing is very important. I mean, your knowledge of the subject, has to be paramount. You cannot get away with a little bit of knowledge and too much of interest. Like if we make a training course where there are a lot of like jokes and all that, and there is little knowledge, that would not work because that would be counterintuitive. But with the knowledge base strong, like for example, one of the videos which I just saw today that we had posted on YouTube. We have very few videos which were posted on YouTube, and the video on UKC calculation is ranking number one in YouTube. The video on pilot ladder is ranking number two. The video on free fall lifeboat, which is one of the most competitive search terms, the lifeboat and the free fall lifeboat, we are still within the first five. So the reason why that happened, these are only the few of the videos which we released on YouTube. Most of our videos are not released on YouTube. But what I'm trying to say is that the research behind it was very, very robust, which we did. That is why the content was appreciated or it was, accepted. But still, the same goes for any kind of online education. When a lecturer, when we are combining a training course for whichever subject it is, stability, navigation, whichever subject it is, when we are combining it, it has to be solid in its research and solid in its content, but also it has to have those elements which I'm talking about, which is different for the digital world. It's different for the real world. I mean, if you're facing the students, it's a different technique that you use to hold the attention. So yeah, I mean.
So since you spoke about videos, I just want to turn my camera and show them that. I just want to play it for a minute. I was already playing on my laptop. So let me see if I can. You know.
It has to be solid in its research and solid in its content, but also it has to have those elements which I'm talking about, which is different for the digital world. It's different for the real world. I mean, if you're facing the students, it's a different technique that you use to hold the attention. So yeah, I mean.
Since you spoke about videos, I just want to turn my camera and show them that. I just want to play it for a minute. I was already playing on my laptop. So let me see if I can.
It has to be solid in its research.
Hey, in the next few minutes, I'm going to give you a glimpse of the future of.
So this is what. Let me again get back to that. 1 minute. Just to show them.
Around the world preparing for various inspections. They're probably finishing their PMS jobs, checking the cleanliness, updating the documentation, and following the VIQ, right? And then what happens on board? An inspector arrives, asks you a simple question, leads to a confusion, and now you have an observation. So there's a drop in KPI now, loss of business which you need to explain for, and maybe some people are going nuts. I know most of your vessels are doing well, but at the very least, inspections are still a big headache for the seafarer, right? A couple of master mariners with ship and shore experience from all over the world came together.
This one is Nav Guide, right? Nav Guide only, right? You see?
Yeah, so this is our YouTube channel. It's called Guide to Observation.
One which can replace checklists with something better finally, reduce preparation time to keep vessels inspection ready, and most importantly, give your juniors the vision of an inspector. And we're talking about any inspection here, whether it's tire, annual, sports state, flag state. This is one process to make the vessel inspection ready. Right about now, you'll be asking me these questions. Are you giving me a bunch of checklists again? What problem are you solving? Why are you reinventing the wheel? What is different? Let me explain that. Well, we tried to bridge a few gaps first. Just like the VIQ, our checklists are mostly divided by topics, which means a certain question might include documentation checks, physical checks, training, etc. This arrangement makes it difficult to follow because that's not how you go around on board. Instead of looking at the entire ship like a VIQ does, we divided her into zones. The ship was divided into 16 physical zones such as the forecastle, accreditation, bridge, etc. with a set of checks devised for each zone. Documentation was also divided into zones for the person in charge. So the concept is, when you take a round of a certain area, like for example the pump room, you're going to check only what can be physically checked. You're not going to confuse it with the pump room documentation, which will come under the documentation. We then divided the checks time-wise. In each zone, what you need to check can be broadly divided into three categories. There are things we need to check once and for all. For example, the lead of the estimate stopper, or the bead welt on your bids, you can just check them once and they're going to be there. Before arrival, you need to verify a few things. For example, the extinguisher should be signed, the pressure of the gearboxes, etc. And on the day of arrival, there are a few things to check as well. For example, on tankers, the VHF should be on 1 watt. Lifebuoy should be next to the gangway. Your guys must carry the gas meter. This approach reduces your preparation time because you're getting rid of the one-time checks beforehand. You know exactly what you'll be checking before arrival, and once you arrive, there are only a few things to verify, which any smart junior officer can do in roughly an hour. You would be surprised to see the number of observations which come from these last moment checks. We researched our content for over 2 years, studying more than 25,000 observations and responses from across the world, including SIRE, PSC, Black Street observations as well, studying various company SMSs and getting it verified by inspectors. So when I said comprehensive, I really meant it. And it's all based on the IQ 7. Well, all this was to
Yeah, so absolutely great. I mean, I just wanted to show that because we spoke about 2, 3 times about the checklist and I mean about the videos being ranking. I couldn't find a particular video of yours, but I will next time when
Yeah.
we
So
when we start the thing, we will show that video first and then speak about it. So it is more effective. It
I
can be
know
more
that
engaging for audience.
these videos, like the UKC video, is being used by FOSMA in their training. It's like because it's open and it's in the open platform, and we have a number of such small. The idea is not about me or this company. The idea is that if you
The
give
methodology. No, no, no.
the methodology,
Ah,
yes,
yeah. It's not
the
about promoting your
small,
company or something like that. It is just
yeah,
telling people as to, how do you go about it systematically. And this is what the millennials, because since attention span is less, they would
yes,
require to probably assemble all they have to
and
get
not only that.
into this. Yeah.
Correct. And also the attention span is less, but in a lesser attention span, this is one thing we have never discussed, but in a lesser attention span, in a less time, you would be surprised how fast a person of the young generation can pick and switch between thoughts and pick up different, if I just start telling you 10 random things, uh, absolutely at random, and I start saying very fast, uh, I mean, if you're not a brilliant person, I mean, most of the people will just miss it. But as the generation gets younger and younger, think of how they are consuming information today. If you, as we were discussing one day, that if you go through an Instagram feed, you are having the input of so many different thoughts one after the other. Think of one post has got nothing to do with the next post. Facebook, Instagram, any of the, or even WhatsApp. One person in the
Yeah.
WhatsApp is chatting about there's a family WhatsApp group. Maybe someone is sending you a good morning message. Immediately, someone is telling you about Samyukta and the competitions. Then the next thing, something else happened, and you have to be involved in that. So now the technique of switching between thoughts and picking up so many thoughts in one thought time has increased. The capacity has increased. For the videos also, if you see the videos, the pattern in which they are made, we are actually talking about a lot of things. In a 5-minute video, we are talking about maybe 40 or 45 different things. We are giving them information. But if a person really concentrates in today's generation, especially the younger generation, they can pick up at that pace because it's there has been a lot of practice behind it. I mean, since they were young, they have been familiarized with information in different sources and different ways, and people don't have much time to learn something new nowadays. 2-3 minutes maximum, or 5 minutes. Teach me something in 5 minutes, like that.
Okay, I have one last question to ask you. One last question before we end the video because we're only 50 minutes over it. Because the most burning question to today's viewers and cadets is getting through this
Yeah.
competitive exams for companies
Yes.
getting for selection. Okay.
Uh,
So I would request you that if you can develop something for that, where
okay.
and if it can be done, in say by next Tuesday or something like that, we can show them that, onto this thing as to what we are looking at You know
Okay.
what the cadets are looking at when they go for a synergy exam, or when they go for a BSM
Uh,
exam, or when they go for an Anglo-Eastern, kind of a exam. Because
okay.
how they need to prepare, because there's a question bank available. There are online 5,000 plus questions available. A lot of
Hmm.
people are doing the preaching, mentoring on the YouTube, on the Instagram, or everywhere else,
Right.
and how to
Right.
go about it. But you know, point is that
Yes.
you
Yes.
have somebody telling you live on the Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, in LinkedIn, whatever it is, as to
Yeah.
how to prepare for it, and then you have a technology which is telling you. So it will be like
Yes.
doodh ka doodh, pani ka pani, to kind of to show them. So if maybe
Obviously,
a
I
two
mean,
three minutes clip also is enough for us. 2 3 minutes
we
clip
can
also should be enough for
definitely, yeah, we can definitely think of developing something in that region because, as you said, I mean, many people are not employed and they are really looking for
And
jobs.
basically, and make it on the I mean, okay, written exam is one thing. Written exam, though, okay, people are preparing anyway, and they're
Yeah.
passing. What
Yeah.
people are failing is interview. Is a online interview. So those
Hmm.
skin etiquettes, what kind of a, portion people are talking
Right.
about. I'm not saying no, but that
Right.
talking and actually showing them a video as to how does a candidate sit
Correct.
in front of a screen, how he has to look, what kind of his body posture should be visible, how much of
Okay.
a tie should be visible, whether he should speak like this, to the inspector, or he should be away from the camera. Those kind of etiquette. These are the impressions, and these are the
Yes.
impressions need to be taught to these boys. I'm telling you. I
Right.
mean, subject
Right.
matter is okay, one thing, but I mean that also we can teach them. But
Yeah.
then these kind of then it will be like a very clear cut differentiation
The
for them.
the impression comes from these things. I mean, the first impression it matters a lot. And I mean, today's generation, of course, they don't get to meet in person. It's an online meet. So yeah, I mean,
Exactly. So
we
the
can definitely
aura
think
is
of
not
developing something
working.
for that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
aura is not working. Your pleasant personality doesn't work. It's only
Correct.
online now. So online you have a limited, like I call it windows. Like it's like driving a car and driving a bike. When you drive a bike and go for a
Yes.
long tour, you are there in
Yes.
the picture yourself. But when you drive a car and go somewhere for a long tour, you only see what windows show you. You know, so
Yeah.
you don't
So
not in picture as such. So if we can make that kind of a thing,
we
we can
can
show
we
it to
can
next
try to
time when we
develop
do the
something
live.
like that.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if it will. I will try. I will try. I will try to
Yeah, we'll
develop.
try. I mean, let's try. Let's try that same thing.
Let's see.
Okay,
Yeah.
Devashish. I mean, let's end this
Thank you
video
so
here.
much,
Thank you
sir.
very much, and I'm sure that they have got the glimpse of what we
Uh,
are saying, and
I
they
would.
also have got. Sorry, say again, please.
I just wanted to ask the viewers if they have any comments on what we said today or what we discussed
Yeah.
today. That is very important to have some comments from the younger generation or what they feel about our discussion because no one ever asked them. That is, it should come from them. That they are one of the most valuable inputs that we can get. Whether the ideas which we spoke about, do you feel it will work? Do you feel it will be interesting to you? Or have you seen something like this or anything, any inputs that they can give could be interesting.
So I'm putting a comments here. Please, if you have any questions, comments, please put it on IGTV, which we'll share on Insta page or on YouTube channel of inspection guide to inspection, right?
Guide to inspections.
Guide to inspections, and so let them put comments there so we can pick up those comments next time and take those
Sure.
answers, question answers before we start the session. Yeah.
Right, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Devashish. Thank you very much for joining, and it's indeed a pleasure talking to you. And we are on the 53 minutes. We always say 30 minutes cutoff time, but it never happens. The subject is very intriguing. Subject is
Yeah.
very important to discuss. So
Right.
anyway, thank you so much, and
Thank
let's
you.
let's, let's continue this thing. Thank you. Take care. Bye. More, and probably I hope he puts more and more videos there, and so you can learn things more. Thank you so much. Signing off here, and I'll see you next Friday again. or coming Friday again and the next Tuesday. Thank you so much. Bye bye.